disagreement for like 50 minutes on the show.
Men are strong.
Was and that we so I asked you, generally speaking, are men more physically strong than women? And there was a long back and forth. I wanted to just ask the question once more. Are men stronger than women?
I've been doing a lot of thinking about this, about the conversation,
Sure.
and what I would say if it came up again. And I want to say, how are we quantifying strength? Because there's a variety. Hold on.
Physically stronger. That's it.
Well, how do you quantify?
Explosive power. Grip strength is like one of the best ways to quantify.
Well,
explosive
we
power.
brought up the grip strength
sure you
study,
Yeah.
and she did not. What did you say? I think you said, well, grip strength is only one metric of strength.
No, grip
and
strength is like one of the most important measures of strength, and it correlates because like there's this weird thing where basically this is why powerlifters will like get like butt plugs and like teeth weights.
Before I have you get, I'd like you to at least state your position before people respond to you. So,
And I
It's okay.
I conceded last time as well.
you didn't really, but so what? You
So-
said you've done research and you haven't found what?
I've done.
Sorry, well, we kind of interrupted you, but you were making a point of you were thinking about it, doing some research, and
Like, what are you
Oh,
measuring?
so I wasn't
strength
really.
by?
I haven't done research. I've just been thinking
Oh, you've been
about
thinking
like the
about it.
responses, having conversations with people. So like one thought that I've been having is, how can we quantify strength, and in what situations? Because I remember you brought up somebody had brought up the situation with the roommates and defending. Who would I want to defend me? I would want the strongest person to defend me.
Yeah. Well, I have a way that you could maybe, because I was thinking about this too.
Okay.
Here's maybe a good way you can quantify it. When you're walking around in your daily life, who do you see lift up more heavy stuff, men or women? Usually. Who's lifting up the heavier
Does that
stuff?
include heavy people?
Yeah, because I'm a dancer, so I see women.
It
lifting
includes
themselves.
everything that could ever be in existence. Who's picking up the heavier stuff? Usually. Who's carrying the couches? Who's loading the trucks? Who's who's doing all that stuff that you see?
have you ever had any movers?
No, actually, my response to that is both, because my stepdad will usually be one of the ones moving stuff, and then he will recruit my younger sister, who is super heavy in the gym and all that, over another.
Is your
male in the
stepdad
house.
stronger than your sister?
I don't know. They're about equal. She probably works out more than him, but he's a police officer, so.
That's also the argument, though, is if she has to work out so much harder.
Before,
I don't-
hold on, no. But I want you to fully, because we've kind of interrupted you a little bit. So, you said that you've been having conversations with people, and what have you arrived? Have you arrived at anything? What do you have any further thoughts? How do you quantify strength? Continue.
So I think there's a lot of different ways that we can quantify strength, and there's
Physical
no
strength.
physical
Yeah.
strength. Yes, and I don't think there's, like you were saying, grip strength is one of the best ways to be able to tell, how overall strong someone might be. And I think that's a good point, and I think that's worth considering. But I don't think it's like the one all be all, because
What would that be?
I don't know,
So
Well-
there.
or
Well, if
unless
you-
somebody can tell me, because like
Yeah,
we were-
so do you, when you look at men and women in society, do you see that men are bigger than women? Taller, bigger?
That's
yes,
a
the
good
average
question.
height of an American man is 5'8".
And do you
about
think
weight?
that means that they got a bigger skeleton?
Like denser bones.
No, just
like a bigger
Their
bigger
muscular
form. They have a
skeletal
bigger
mass is
skeleton.
going to develop differently.
Yes, necessarily they have a bigger skeleton, and a bigger skeleton can do what? If you have a bigger skeleton, you can do what with it?
I guess hold more things. I don't know.
Harness more leverage.
Okay, that makes sense.
And you can also have larger amounts of body mass around a larger skeleton, right? So
Okay.
the thing is if the capacity is there for the thing that's bigger versus the thing that's not as big, which one would you judge as being generally stronger than the other? Like if you saw a kitty cat versus a lion, which thing would you think was stronger?
The lion.
Why?
Hold on.
Because the lion
bigger,
has
it's bigger,
it's
okay.
bigger, Lots bigger, right?
Although
So
to be fair, really big power lifters actually carry less weight per poundage for their own body because leverage does create like fulcrum points that are bad, which is why women in powerlifting are kind of insane. They don't lift the heaviest weight, but they lift pound for pound, especially in legs. They're starting to like come close to men.
I feel like you just went over with a big bag of dirt and poured it right into the water,
I know,
and
I'm
now
sorry.
there's nothing but mud
I
to
should have
walk
said,
through.
hold on, I'm going to stir the pot. Obviously, men are on average stronger by like obvious. I just wanted to
I like the kitty cat and the lion, and you really just
Why
kind
is
of wrecked that
Here,
for me.
but before we interrupt her, I'd like to give her an opportunity to actually like finish your full thought. Go ahead.
Mr. Interrupter over here.
Don't just go ahead. Just
so
go ahead.
bad. Okay, gotta get myself back on track. Okay, what was the final point that I?
So
came
you said you were consulting with people, with various experts, I assume, and
My mommy.
your mom. But you were having conversations. So what?
Scientists.
And it sounded like you rejected. We showed you that grip strength study. You rejected that because while you might acknowledge that it's a factor in strength, it might not be the ultimate test or indicator that would determine who might comparatively who might be stronger, men or women. So what else?
I think it also depends on like how much protectiveness somebody feels over the person that they might be defending or themselves, how much adrenaline I guess is pumping, maybe not like literally how much adrenaline, but like how crazy they are.
Well,
or maybe
in the adrenaline example, wouldn't you have to compare an adrenalized man to an adrenalized woman? So if we just compared both of them in an adrenalized state, who's stronger, men or women?
so it would have to consider the adrenaline, and I feel like more.
I'm almost curious I'd be curious to see studies if men produce more adrenaline. I don't know.
I was thinking
but I'd be
similarly.
curious if men produce more adrenaline in sort of flight or flight situations.
Yes,
But that's
of course they do.
I don't actually
Well,
Yeah.
maybe if,
I don't know if
there's
it's-
a mom, wouldn't she produce more adrenaline if she felt like her kid was in danger?
Exactly.
This
That's
is
a
this
bit
is
that
going
I
to be
want.
boring
let's-
neurochemistry.
But
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
know.
I have no idea.
But so go ahead, continue. Now I'm interrupting. I apologize. Go ahead.
The fact that you brought up the mom situation was another point that I was considering. I know that my mom would be able to defend me so much better than my biological dad.
Okay, but the original question that this kind of stemmed from was, are men stronger than women physically?
Just on average. That's it. Just on
Like
average.
not
And if we're
random
taking,
cases.
I think it would just be so hard to find an average. I think is what the conclusion that I might have somewhat come to last time, but like I wanted to verbalize it better, or if I got the opportunity, wanted to verbalize it better. If I see the numbers and we're taking each individual man and each individual woman, and there's a list of the ones that are strong, I guess. And like I said, it's so hard to quantify these things. So like, who is stronger, men or women? Does anybody understand what I'm saying?
No, I have no idea.
I mean, like,
I literally have no clue.
Like,
what you're
obviously,
talking
men
about.
can be
None.
like domestic violence victims. But for example, I feel like usually like a big reason in why
Can we not say
women
that
tend-
word? No,
Sorry,
neither here nor there.
It's
when
fine to
DV
say.
why
but-
women like tend to be like, more. Not trying to say that it doesn't happen to men, because I'm sure there are men getting roughed around by. It's because usually
But-
it's harder for us to fight back because we're like
But
weaker.
that's not really related to the
Well,
conversation.
I'm saying in the sense that I feel like when we're
Are
talking
you
about the
saying that
average
women
man,
can beat up men? Yes, they can.
Yeah, but no, that's not
Continue.
what I was saying. I was saying the reason that majority of the case, I would say, are usually the woman is the victim is because if the strength was more half, wouldn't we fight back in those situations more often?
Well, it's a
And our
DV
adrenaline's up too.
And our adrenaline's up. Well, yeah, exactly. And usually when if a girl is a victim of DV, they end up beat up, not fighting back and having 3 rounds and just
So-
doing MMA fighting.
Okay.
Usually the woman is the one who,
Okay. Do you want to continue with your point?
I think just the main point that is important for me to say is the ability to quantify these things, the strength, and then the comparison of the strengths between an entirety, 8 billion people. We have 4 billion men approximately and 4 billion women approximately. I think it would be crazy to even try.
Beaten Cheeks donated $200. Andrew, please cook them into going back to the easiest class in elementary school about physical strength between boys and girls. I'm getting dumber listening to the libs than watching monkeys work.
Okay, first of all, this is not a libs talking going, okay? I've been very explicitly clear as a progressive lib that I would disagree with this. Obviously, men are normatively more strong. Just like, obviously. I think that's only not true in hyenas, but that's because female hyenas have a shitload of testosterone, which is like...
There is some set of feminists, though, and I'm not trying to like straw man feminists or whatever, but there is some like deranged feminists that, like, I don't know if you're familiar with this, Anita Sarkeesian. This is like way back. She made a whole tropes versus video games or something. She claimed that it's a trope that men are physically stronger. I don't. This was a decade ago, so I don't remember exactly what she said. But she was essentially saying that that there actually is no physical strength difference.
A lot of like cringy third wave feminists were just obsessed with women being men. But the most fourth wave feminists, for example, would fully reject this.
But continue.
Well, right. It actually makes sense because it would go against the oppressive narrative if they said suddenly that women are stronger than men. They couldn't say that men oppressed them. So
go ahead.
That kind of counterintuitive to feminism.
So let me just ask the question: are men physically stronger than women?
We already went over this. I have a hard time.
Is there trying to be good faith here? Like, is there just some metric of strength that you think women are better on, or something, and that's why you're having a hard time or like what metric is giving you hesitancy?
Is there a sport that you think like women would?
Is it just the gym?
Is there
pain tolerance?
Pain tolerance is a good point.
Sport.
And
is there a sport that would go with that? So like super endurance running, for example, women are starting to compete at equal levels and slightly more, specifically because of like body fat composition and like water amounts and pain tolerance that like women are starting to slightly outcompete men on like super marathons.
Nick, can you pull up boysversuswomen.com? We already looked at it. We'll look at it for 10 seconds and then so high school boys, if you put in the US, if you put them against gold medalists in the Olympics, and this is not just in the US, this is across like the highest level of achievement in women's sports. So hold on, let me read this, Nick. Scroll up. Male high school athletes, so I'm assuming this is US, male high school athletes versus female Olympians. So this isn't just US female Olympians, this is all Olympians from the entire world, every single country. If high school boys win against the fastest women, is it fair for males? Well, that's okay. That's another conversation. So if you allowed high school boys to compete against female Olympians, the boys would steal all those medals from the women. So just scroll down just a bit. We won't see the whole thing, but track and field, 2016 high school boys versus 2016 Olympic women's finalists. Scroll down a bit, Nick. So this is for the 100 meter. No, up. And it's going to resort. So those are high school boys who would outperform the Olympian women. Scroll down just a tad. We'll just look at one more and we won't linger. This is 400 meter, 800 meter. And it's going to resort here. Okay, so high school boys who certainly are, I assume, are not even at their athletic peak, are out-competing female Olympians. Just U.S. high school boys are out-competing all the women in the world who are at the peak within their gender.
Okay. Must be steroids.
So how can you explain that high school boys are out-competing women, if not for having more strength, for example? Or fast twitch, I mean, these are races, so that's probably more related to like your fast twitch muscle fibers and stuff.
Like explosive power, yeah.
Okay.
But you know what, related to that, Nick, can you pull up photos of male sprinters versus female sprinters just to see what their bodies look like?
I should look at there's a video of a female sprinter like paced alongside a male sprinter video. It's probably I used to actually
make sure it's not TOS.
Agree with you, and then my husband, when we were just starting to date, just showed me like, Serena Williams being like, I would never, and then the like U.S. soccer team of women Olympians losing to like the U16 boys team, and I was like, okay, yeah, this is just like brain rot.
And it was bad.
Like they lost.
Scorched.
It was
Bad.
scorched. It wasn't even close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were laughing
Do you
at
do
him
you
and
have it,
mocking
Nick?
him. It was pretty funny.
Okay.
So the way that I'm looking at strength is less in sports and stuff and more
Okay,
in
we're
like
not gonna-
physical
never-
combat and
never mind.
stuff.
Huh?
Like
Okay,
Wait,
well, what
you're
about
looking-
like
Wait, in
Navy
physi-
SEAls? There are like hardly ever any. I don't even
There's
know if
no-
there's
Never
like
been.
women
There's
Navy
never been.
SEAls.
There's none.
That
There's never
is
been one.
Women would never compete in a male fighting sport ever. They would get. In
Combat.
fact, this is like part
Absolutely
of
not.
the trans athlete conversation. Is that like trans athletes, even after doing a whole bunch of stuff to like make them like their teen stuff similar to cis women, all the cis women that have fought them been like they punch like nothing I've ever experienced. It's like a truck hitting your face.
I almost wonder if you don't want to concede this because then it would, because perhaps you have a corresponding position on the trans people in sports thing, and if you were to concede that men are physically stronger than women or males are stronger than females, then you then must concede that we should not have trans women in women's sports. Is that what this stems from?
I don't think so. I think it's more just to do with my personal experience with my mother and like her, like I know she could whoop anybody.